New York, a city famous for its skyscrapers, streets full of energy, and a history in which the destinies of great people are intertwined. At the beginning of the 20th century, one mansion stood out even against the background of the then buildings. It was a home, the embodiment of luxury, wealth and ambition. The Charles M. Schwab Mansion, which was once the most luxurious home in Manhattan. But what led to this magnificent mansion, a symbol of the era, being demolished? Today we dive into his story. Charles Michael Schwab was born on February 18, 1862 into a poor family in Cambria, Pennsylvania. He was the son of German immigrants and from an early age sought to overcome the limitations of his origins. In his youth, he worked various menial jobs in an effort to obtain an education and earn a living. His ambition, energy, and determination quickly set him apart from his peers. Schwab's meeting with Andrew Carnegie turned out to be fateful. In 1881, at the age of just 19, Schwab went to work for the Carnegie Company. This was a key moment in his career. Schwab started as a simple clerk, but thanks to his intelligence, courage, and business acumen, he quickly climbed the career ladder. By the age of 30, he was appointed CEO of Carnegie Steel. Cut to archival footage of Andrew Carnegie and young Charles Schwab in front of the plant. Schwab not only proved himself to be a talented manager, but also an outstanding innovator. He introduced new production methods that significantly increased the efficiency of steel mills. It was thanks to his efforts that Carnegie Steel became the largest steel company in the world. Under his leadership, steel production reached unprecedented levels, which turned Carnegie into one of the richest people on the planet. But Schwab's ambitions went beyond working for Carnegie. At the beginning of the 20th century, he became one of the key players in the creation of a steel corporation, the first company in the world with a capitalization of more than $1 billion. Despite Carnegie's protests, Schwab convinced John Pierpont Morgan of the feasibility of creating such a giant. This move cemented Schwab's status as one of the leading businessmen of his time. With each new success, not only Charles Schwab's fortune grew, but also his ambitions. He was a man who believed in the American dream and its fulfillment. He built not only factories, but also his image, philanthropist, one of the richest and most influential people of the era. Close-ups of luxurious mansions, mentioning the upcoming construction of his legendary home in New York. At the peak of his career, Charles Schwab decided to build one of the most luxurious mansions in New York, a house that would become a symbol of his achievements and lifestyle. This mansion was supposed to embody all the luxury and grandeur that he aspired to. Charles Schwab, known as an ambitious and successful businessman, decided to implement his vision not only in business, but also in architecture. After he achieved success in industry and became one of the most powerful men in America, he decided to build a house that would be a symbol of his greatness and wealth. In 1901, Schwab purchased a large plot of land on West 73 Woody Street in Manhattan, which was located away from the bustle of the city, but at the same time in an upscale area. On this site he planned to build not just a house, but one of the most luxurious mansions in New York. His vision was to create something that would surpass all existing buildings in luxury and architectural design. To implement his grandiose project, Schwab attracted the most talented architects and craftsmen of the time. One of them was Maurice Hebert, a famous French architect whose work was inspired by the traditions of the European Renaissance and Baroque. Schwab wanted his mansion to resemble a castle, and Hebert's architectural design suited this vision perfectly. The mansion design included more than 75 rooms, making it one of the largest private homes in New York. The building's architecture featured a unique combination of French Renaissance and American eclecticism. The interior decoration included marble columns, luxurious staircases, exquisite furniture and works of art brought from Europe. Construction of the house began in 1902 and lasted several years. During the construction process, the best materials and the latest technologies of the time were used. Every element of the building was carefully crafted to meet Schwab's high standards. The interior of the mansion was as impressive as its architecture. Inside there were marble floors, gilded ceilings, massive crystal chandeliers, paintings by famous artists, and handcrafted furniture. It was a real palace in the center of New York, intended to entertain high society and demonstrate Schwab's wealth and status. The opening of the house in 1906 became an event that was discussed throughout New York. The Schwab mansion attracted attention not only for its luxury, but also for the fact that it became a symbol of new opportunities and ambitions of the American elite of the early 20th century. The Charles Schwab Mansion has become one of the most famous architectural landmarks in New York. Its influence could be seen in subsequent building projects that combined elements of European luxury and American innovation. Despite all his ambitions and achievements, Charles Schwab was unable to hold on to his mansion for long. In 1939, at the height of the Great Depression, the house was sold and later demolished to make way for an apartment building. The history of this house, like the history of Schwab himself, is a story of rise and fall. But despite this, its architectural legacy continues to inspire and remind us of a time when the boundaries between art, luxury, and business acumen were blurred in the pursuit of perfection. Despite the incredible success that accompanied Charles Schwab at the beginning of the 20th century, his life and career were far from free of problems and changes. Like many of his contemporaries, Schwab faced new challenges in a changing world. For Schwab, as for many others, this was a disaster. The era of unbridled growth and prosperity ended in 1929, when the stock market crashed, known in history as the Great Depression. His investments, a significant part of which were concentrated in stocks and enterprises, began to rapidly depreciate in value. Before the crisis, Schwab ran several successful businesses and invested heavily in new projects. However, the crisis changed everything. Many of his companies went bankrupt and he found himself in huge debt. For a man who was once the epitome of success and strength, this comes as a heavy blow. But financial problems weren't the only challenges Schwab faced. During this same period, his health began to deteriorate. Constant stress and worries about the fate of the business could not but affect his physical condition. Heart disease and other chronic ailments accompanied him in the last years of his life. The difficult financial situation forced Schwab to decide to sell his legendary mansion in New York. The house that was once a symbol of his success and wealth is now a reminder of how quickly fortunes can change. Despite all the difficulties, Schwab continued to do charity work and tried to support his business interests. He continued to believe in the power of progress and the possibility of restoration, and this was reflected in his public activities. However, the scale of his influence decreased significantly, and his financial situation remained unstable. The transition from success to crisis and loss was a personal lesson for Schwab about the fragility of human achievement. His life was a shining example of how quickly circumstances can change and the importance of perseverance in the face of adversity. Charles Schwab died in 1939. Leaving behind a complex legacy of both greatness and lessons that true strength lies not only in wealth, but also in the ability to withstand change. The story of Charles Schwab is a story of an indomitable desire for success, of ups and downs, and of the fact that, despite all the problems and changes, each of us leaves a mark on history. By the end of the 1930s, Charles Schwab once one of America's most influential and successful businessmen, was no longer the mighty titan of industry that he was known at the beginning of the century. The Great Depression and subsequent financial difficulties completely changed his life, and Schwab himself faced the fact that his own era was coming to an end. Despite his fame and enormous achievements, Schwab spent the last years of his life in relative obscurity. His personal fortune decreased significantly. Of the once enormous wealth, only a shadow of its former splendor remains. It was a time of rethinking and accepting the inevitable. Charles Schwab's life was not only a story of success and financial loss. His final years were marked by serious personal difficulties. His marriage to Eugenia Schwab, which lasted almost 5 decades, was far from ideal. Although the couple remained together for the rest of his life, the relationship was strained, especially amid financial problems and illness. Schwab's health deteriorated significantly in the last years of his life. Heart disease, which accompanied him for many years, became another burden that he had to bear. He spent much of his time at his home in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where the natural surroundings and quiet allowed him to find some solace from the tumultuous years of his career. Even in his later years, Schwab continued to be interested in public affairs. He often expressed his views on the state of the economy and spoke about the need for new approaches to business management. However, his voice no longer carried the weight it had in earlier times. A new generation of businessmen and industrialists had replaced the old guard, and Schwab's world began to seem foreign and unfamiliar to him. In the eyes of society, Charles Schwab remained an important figure, a symbol of industrial power and enterprise at the turn of the century. But he himself increasingly realized that his time had passed. He witnessed how America was changing, how new technologies and new leaders began to shape a future in which he no longer had a place. Charles Schwab died on October 18, 1939. His death marked the end of an era in American industry. Buried in St. Michael's Cemetery in Bethlehem, he is remembered as one of the great pioneers of industrialization, a man who rose to the top through his talent and will to win. Schwab's legacy lives on today, not only in the form of his achievements in industry, but also as an example of how fragile success can be and how quickly the world can change. The end of his life symbolized the end of an era that gave rise to modern business and a changed America. The end of the Schwab era marked the beginning of a new chapter in American history. His achievements and mistakes, his successes and failures continue to inspire and teach, reminding us that every period in history has its end, but the lessons left by those who created this period remain for centuries. Although Charles Schwab passed away in 1939, his legacy continues to influence the modern world. In this sense, Schwab became a symbol not only of the era of American industrialization, but also a representative of the principles and ideas that underlie modern corporate culture and the financial system. Schwab's main achievement was his participation in the creation of one of the largest steel companies in the world, Steel. This corporation determined the development of American industry for many decades to come, and its influence is still felt today. It was through his efforts and strategic vision that Steel became a symbol of the power of American business. Schwab also left a legacy of innovation in management and business. These ideas live on in business today, influencing many industries, from heavy industry to high technology. But Schwab's legacy extends beyond business. His philanthropy and community service also left a deep imprint on American society. Schwab was one of those who believed in the importance of education, medicine, and the arts. He supported many initiatives in these areas, leaving behind significant contributions that continue to make a difference to this day. His name is associated with a number of educational and medical institutions that still exist and function thanks to his generous donations. These institutions became part of America's cultural and social landscape, and Schwab's legacy in this area continues to live on. On a personal level, Charles Schwab became a symbol of the American dream, the story of how an ordinary person, thanks to his talent and work, can achieve incredible heights. His desire for success, entrepreneurship, and willingness to take risks remain examples for new generations of businessmen and entrepreneurs. Today, the name of Charles Schwab is immortalized in history as one of the most significant in the industrial development of America. His life and achievements inspire millions of people around the world, reminding them that courage, tenacity, and vision can change the world. Charles Schwab's legacy lives on in every building built of steel, in every success achieved through innovation and hard work, in every new generation that strives for success and prosperity. His contribution to the development of the global economy and society will be remembered and appreciated for many years to come. The history of the Charles Schwab Mansion is the history of New York, where every corner of the earth holds many secrets and memories of the past. Subscribe to our channel to learn more about wealth, luxury, and those who left their mark on world history. Bye.